Ever wanted to see your own furniture styled in gorgeous rooms without battling Photoshop or paying for 3D renders? Now, MidJourney's OmniReference finally makes that easy for designers and creators like you. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to drop real pieces into AI-generated scenes, walk through simple workflows, and reveal both the magic and the flaws of this game-changing tool. OmniReference is a tool in MidJourney version 7 that lets you say, take this exact object, product, and scene and put it into my image. You simply drag your reference image over the prompt box or paste a URL and MidJourney blends it in. Unlike older character reference tools, OmniReference works for furniture and decor, product photos, lifestyle images, and even entire scenes. This is a big step forward because you can create consistent visuals across mood boards and presentations. You can prototype ideas instantly. You can save hours of time compared to editing by hand. I've tested OmniReference with real product images and my own design prompts, and while it's not perfect yet, it's easily the most accessible way to build visual concepts fast. Here's how you get started. Make sure you've selected MidJourney version 7 in your setting. Drag your reference image onto the prompt bar until you see OmniReference. Write your prompt describing the scene and where you want the object to appear. Adjust the OmniWeight. OmniWeight controls how closely MidJourney sticks to your reference image. Lower numbers give your prompt and style reference more influence, while higher numbers makes the AI copy the reference more literally. For most interior design workflows, I recommend starting between 80 and 50. If your object isn't showing up clearly enough, try increasing the weight. If it's taking over the whole scene or bringing in unwanted background details, dial it down. Just be aware that going above 300 can sometimes distort scale or texture, so it's worth experimenting to find the sweet spot for your project. OmniWeight is critical to getting good results. Let's look at practical ways you can use OmniReference in your projects. I've uploaded all my images and prompts into Middlenote, so let's just take a look at some examples. So the first thing that we can do in MidJourney is create images that can be used for our portfolio. So this may include putting an item such as a chair into an interior. Maybe we want to add some atmosphere or different views of a similar project in a presentation, or even just create some videos or images for social media. I've got two examples here. So the first is this chair. You can note that there is no leg. This is the original image which I got from the website. And I used this prompt, which is a warm contemporary living room with timber floors. So I used this custom GPT to actually help me create prompts that are optimized for creating images for AI. So you can get access to this GPT. It's free in my design community. It's called the Design Success Circle. I'll leave a link in the description for you to join. So essentially what you can do is actually create a prompt from scratch or upload an image to create a prompt. So I've just created these, and you will see that I am using an OmniWeight reference of 150. For me, this seems to be my sweet spot. I seem to get very good results from using a weight of 150. And you can see here, there is two examples. So this chair and also a Fritz Hansen egg chair. I've used a very simple image as my OmniReference, and it's on a plain background, and I've asked it to create an image with pale floors, white pastel walls, and so on. And you can see in both of these examples, it did it extremely well. I then tried to change a little bit of style using the same OmniReference image, and I asked it to put it in a mid-century modern living room. So I asked it also to angle the chair towards the brass floor lamp, and you can see it only managed to do it in one of those images, but it was able to put in leather cushions and small stacks of design books. So the next use case is building a consistent mood board. So sometimes you might want to build a series of images that are using the same textile, the same color. So I'm going to give you two examples. I've got this reference swatch, which is a Florence Broadhurst material called Fingers, and I've asked it to use this textile as a bed throw. And you can see again, my Omni weight is 150. In two of the images, it applied it to the wall. So one as a headboard, I think, and one as a wallpaper. But in the remaining two images, it actually followed the prompt really well. When you look at the detail in the image, it's actually done a very, very nice job of rendering this image. Now, I also tried it with two other more complex textile designs, and instead of being very specific and asking for the bed throw, I said just apply it to test drapery integration. So whether make it appear as a curtain or a bed throw. So you can see this is a little bit more variety, and it's put it in a lot of different places. So an inset wall panel. So this is a really great way of actually testing different ideas. And then once you've kind of got an idea that you like, you can then refine it and ask MidJourney to actually put it in a specific place. The next example of this is a rug pattern. So I've got this really actually quite dodgy image of a rug pattern. It's just a screenshot of some random rug that I found online, and I asked it to put it into a living room with warm terracotta walls, travertine flooring, and huge potted plants. It's actually followed it really, really well. It's given me some variety of images and also a different variety of the types of rugs. So you can see here, this is the closest to the original image. It's even got the variety in tones here, but it's also given me some other sort of test ideas for this kind of rug. And again, the Omni weight is 150 here. So another example would be to create an interior using a color palette. So I've got this color palette, which is my Design Inc. Co. brand color palette, and I've asked it to create an image of a creative studio with concrete flooring. So it's done that very well. Large cork pinboard, shelves filled with art supplies. Use the reference color palette applied to a selection of fabric swatches pinned on the board. And I actually really liked this result. But you can see here, if you look at some of the art materials, these brushes are really, really long. But it's also done a very good job in these three other palettes. Another example of the mood boards would be using another material swatch, but in this case it is tile, and Omni weight in this first example was around 70, and you can see it's taken the green tile, but it's not really applied it as a mosaic except in this example. However, when I increase the Omni weight to 150, you can see it's really got that idea of a mosaic, and you can also see that the prompts are exactly the same. Then I raised the Omni weight to around 250, and you can see it's quite a difference. It's kept the colors, kept the prompt, but again, it's moved away from this reference image, and it's more about the style and the prompt. So the third use case would be to produce lifestyle shots. Now, you might have a presentation, a Instagram video that you want to actually add some extra images into that. Maybe they're not big details, but they just add a little bit more of that storytelling use case. So in this case, I've got a globe, which I've actually put into a few libraries. Then I tried it with a painting, and it's actually really interpreted the style extremely well. Then the next case is quite interesting. I saw this in my head as a sculpture. So when I first wrote the prompt, I wrote it as a neutral toned home office, and I said include the reference sculptural object prominently on one shelf. Now, it has obviously disagreed with this characterization of the object as a sculpture. It's tried to create sculptures. I can't really see any evidence of this reference image anywhere. If you look at this example, I've given this reference image, but instead I've just said include the reference object prominently on one shelf. So I've kept the actual description of the item less specific, and you can see it's done this really well. The next use case would be to replace elements without rebuilding a whole scene. So sometimes it just takes a really long time to actually edit a reference image that you might want to use within a presentation. ChatGPT does a really great job, and we'll take a look at the difference in a moment. But you can see here, this example, I have actually asked MidJourney to use the reference rug, which is placed under this image. So this was the original image, and I asked it to put the reference rug under this sofa. In two of the examples, it's moved away from that reference image. The Omni weight is still 150, but in these two examples, it's much closer to the original inspiration rug that we've talked about. You'll also note that it's changed the marble coffee table. So it's tried to take the marble and make it more of that palette. And you can also note that the original image had this arched window, and there's an arched window here, but here they've actually changed the actual structure of that image. In this prompt, I just said replace the rug with the reference image. So I gave it that reference image and also the OmniReference of the rug, and you can see it's deviated quite far away in terms of the structure of the room, but it has actually interpreted the rug quite well. You can see there's very similar structure or design in that rug. However, if you look at ChatGPT, and I used again the very short reference, and I gave it that image and the rug image, and you can see here the structure of that image has been maintained almost exactly down to the painting, the objects on the shelf here, the color of the coffee table. The only thing that I would note is that rug texture is just not as nice as the ones that were here. So if you have a look at these rug textures, you know that the rug is really, really thick and fluffy, whereas if you look at this, it just looks a little bit cheap. Actually, it looks like cheap quality rug that you might find in a very low budget project. So my conclusion there is to actually say that ChatGPT is a lot better at just replacing. If you want to just replace one element of an image, it is really great at doing that. However, if you want something that's more artistic, that's much more of a pleasing image, then MidJourney is the way to go. Note, for now, you can't use multiple OmniReferences directly. Combine them externally in Photoshop if needed. The fifth use case, which I would like to talk about, is video. And you can see in this first video, I've actually just asked it to animate a sculpture which is sitting on a shelf. I would consider this pretty gimmicky. Actually, I wouldn't have a lot of use case for this. So you may have seen, images of videos being produced where there are animals walking through interiors and so on. And I mean, yes, it's all a bit of fun, but it's not really realistic and probably not part of your workflow. The second example is using this interior design styling of living room. So this could be used for a part of a storytelling piece that you might be doing for social media or so on. One of the things I do like the video for is to animate a drawing. So I had this drawing here, and I'm not super great at people, so you can see my people are pretty sketchy, but when you animate it, you can see we're moving towards that room. Even the pot on the stove has some steam rising, and I think that's actually a really lovely image. In this one, again, as I said, my people were here, and it's added in these more realistic looking people. But again, this could be very, very nice if you really wanted to add a little bit of movement to a presentation and can add a little bit of depth. The last use case is this reel that I created.
This is Mary. She's an interior designer. The right kind of designer. The kind who'll tell you your beige sofa isn't actually beige, it's oat milk.
And the goal of this reel was really to see whether I could create a consistent character reference to tell a story. So I chose a designer, and then I used her as an OmniReference. So I think I actually did choose her out of this lineup, and then I created a OmniReference of her, and you can see and extended it as a video. And then as I sort of developed the story, I had her, sitting in different poses, and if you keep on going, talking to clients, and you can see the person actually, she's really quite consistent. And then I have another image of her working, looking at fabric swatches, drinking some coffee, or looking, I think, what is she doing? She's holding a light meter, but it ended up looking like a camera, looking around at a light. And I used the same reference image, as you can see here, and then really sort of developed the story of her and her design things. So here she is, looking at a workshop in Morocco. Here she is again talking to clients. There are some minor differences, but if it's going in a fast reel, you probably wouldn't notice so much. You can really, really develop the storytelling here. And beyond character consistency, you can also use MidJourney to create camera moves like zooms, pans, or angle changes by generating a sequence of images and stitching them together. So if you want to learn how to create more videos with MidJourney, you can watch the linked video here, or I'll link it in the description below. If your results look inconsistent or off, try these. Number 1, be extremely specific. Describe your entire scene, lighting, materials, camera, angle, or mood. You can get ChatGPT to review your prompt and improve it. Number 2, use style references and image references. I'll have another video on style references, but if you want a consistent look, you can add a past project photo as an image reference along your OmniReference. There's a video about how to use style references and image references, which I'll link below. Adjust the chaos value. Set chaos between 5 and 10 to get a bit more variety if your grids feel repetitive. If you get a result that's almost right, try subtle or strong variations. Remix can reinterpret your prompt without losing your reference. Save as a JPEG. If you're using transparent PNGs, they can sometimes include hidden metadata, so save your references of JPEG to avoid weird artifacts. Lower your stylize value. If details keep drifting, set stylize between 60 and 80. So here are a few limitations that you need to keep in mind. With OmniReference, you can't currently control object orientation or the precise scale of objects. You'll sometimes find your objects being really small or really big. You can't zoom out or outpaint OmniReferences in the editor. You can only use one OmniReference at a time. This is for now. Still, for many workflows, it's faster, easier and cheaper than manual editing or in painting tools like using Photoshop Generative Fill. I'd encourage you to experiment. If you'd like extra resources, prompt guides, and behind-the-scenes examples, you're welcome to join my free community for designers, the Design Success Circle. You'll find the link in the description. And this is a space to experiment and enjoy and really test your ideas with a group of like-minded people. And if you're ready to level up even further, you'll love learning how to create videos in MidJourney with real workflows that you can use without the gimmicks. You'll see the link up here. See you in the next video.